Hi, I'm Sophie, and I haven't seen a lot of movies.
Hi, I'm Paul, and I'm here to help with that. And we are
SP Film Viewers. What happens if a car comes?
We Die. Sophie's pick of movie this time around, and we decided to go with The Notebook that she first saw when she was it 16, you reckon, in like school days?
Yeah, I think so. I had like a sleepover with a couple of friends at my house, and I don't know how it came about. We all decided to put The Notebook on, and we'd had a really good kind of weekend, you know, like proper slumber party kind of sleepover thing. And then we're really enjoying it throughout, and then there's the end part where you turn around and look at all your friends and everybody's crying their eyes out at the film, because obviously we didn't really know, you don't really know what to expect when you're reading the back of it. It doesn't really make it sound like there's going to be a really sad ending. But so it has kind of clung to me for quite a while. Obviously, I would say when I was in my teens, it was my favourite film. I even did a photography project on The Notebook in college where I did a whole notebook session. So
what did that entail exactly then, in terms for that to work as a project?
So it was, you had to do a project around a film. And it was kind of getting the stills from the actual film itself. So for example, I did went to the Lake District for all the boat scenes, you know, with the canoes, kind of getting, so I actually didn't do it with people in it, weirdly, because I didn't like taking pictures of people, which is where the money is. That's why I'm not a photographer. So I wanted to take pictures of the landscape with a canoe, like that gorgeous opening scene that you see, kind of the picturesque. I ended up kind of writing letters and framing them. I also went to the seaside and went and got a Ferris wheel and the fair and all of that kind of aspect of it. So that's kind of how I delved into the photography side with that project.
Okay, so it was kind of like recreating the scenes, almost like similar shot for shot, but not quite exactly.
Yeah, because obviously they've got a higher budget than I have. But yeah, so kind of trying to do my own readaptation.
That's nice. Yeah.
So yeah, it was either, believe it or not, it was either between, I think I was only obviously 16 or 17 at this stage. It was between The Notebook or Twilight, and I'm so glad I picked The Notebook. I did actually kind of stem into Twilight a little bit, but the only thing I think I could do was like the chessboard and the apple.
Yeah.
That was kind of, and then I was thinking, where this isn't going to take me on location, which I want to kind of go out and about and take beautiful landscapes. So whereas The Notebook kind of does give you that.
Yeah. So going back to that opening shot, it kind of does give you that sort of glossy kind of setup of what the film is going to be all the way through. You've got like a nice glowing orange sunset, silhouette on the lake, and also what looks like some poorly shot CGI swans or geese flying. I was like, what's that about?
Trust you to point that out.
I know, like, it looks so like really obvious. I was like, oof.
In my 16-year-old self, I did not notice that.
I
really didn't.
Not, but
it was
more like, this is nice music and
romanticized. I think that's what it was, and you kind of got taken away from that aspect of it. And I think that's why I really love this film so much. It is really beautifully filmed. It is set in the 1920s, and I think I must secretly love that era without me realizing.
Yeah,
I do really, it appeals to me. Obviously it's not genuine, but it is kind of set in that kind of era, and it's a class kind of thing, like the way that they dress and the way that they speak, and kind of the lifestyle's so simplistic, but yet seems more amazing, the stuff they get up to, than what we do nowadays.
Yeah.
Especially with what we can and can't do at the moment, but...
Yeah, but we do also got to remember that this is only a snapshot of what things, like most films and in real life, you kind of only see the good side of those things. Yeah. Obviously, there's some of the dirge of those people who were in the slums of the 1920s, not all peaches and roses. No. But yeah, I get what you mean. It's kind of looks all like fun and everything, and we kind of get the introduction of to our two leads at this like fairground.
Yeah, which me and Paul would never meet in a fairground. So I really love fairgrounds. I think that's what kind of captured me a little bit within the opening scene of this. So you've got a Ferris wheel, you've got the dodgems. I don't know what they call them in the States, if that's the same thing, or bumper cars.
Bumper cars, yeah, I think.
And I loved going to like the beach and kind of having like the little fair and stuff. Whereas Paul is a bit, not saying that he's killjoy, kind of sucks the fun out of these things, but you don't really like sand on your feet, so you wouldn't go onto the beach barefoot. So I can't have like a romantic meal on the beach with him, because he'd just be like, oh, there's sand in my food, and just sucking every fun out of it being romantic. And then we actually went on the dodgems, didn't we?
Yeah, a few years back, and you gave me leg injury.
So it was his birthday, and I was like, oh, I love the dodgems, and I remember going on them, and I've never been injured on dodgems in my entire life.
Although it was a bit naff, I guess, because it was only the two of us on the dodgems at the time, so it was enough time to build up more speed, I guess.
Yeah.
And so you probably crashed into me. I was giving me like not whiplash of the leg thing. I had a proper bruise, and I was in pain for the rest of the day. I had to drive all the way back home with it as well. This is not very enjoyable now. The rest of the day, so a bit of a sour mood.
Yeah, you were. Even though I bought you fish and chips and everything to try and cheer you up, but I think you were just annoyed that you had to drive back as well.
Yeah, did we go on the Ferris wheel after that, or was that before?
We did, but it was after the fact.
Okay, and whereas I like to go on that, and you were like, no, I'm scared.
It looked a right rickety old thing,
but not as rickety as the one on this one. It doesn't look very safe on this in Notebook one, because it was kind of like very open. So as he kind of as our lead character Noah climbs all the way up to Ali to ask a date, I thought it was very ambitious.
Yeah,
and a bit like it's a bit stalkery and time, like won't take no for an answer kind of thing. Like, you must do this.
Yeah,
and having this emotional blackmail thing, right? Oh, I'm going to kill myself if you don't go on a date with me. It's like, is that a really way to win a girl over?
But he has this kind of appeal of a jokester kind of character, and I love his humour within this, because he's not meaning any harm or malice by it. He's just really, really kind of a jovial, genuine guy that's thinking, if I can play up a little bit, it might get me to be a bit more standout compared to all the other guys just flashing the cash, because he can't do that, can he?
No, that's his only means of expressing himself in the society, I suppose.
Yeah.
Because he hasn't got the money or the means to showboat, really. So he's showboating within, it's just his personality.
Yeah, and he does shine out. Actually, I really, really liked Noah. He was my favourite character in this, and I really, really, as 16 years old, wanted a Noah in my life when I was younger.
Noah or Ryan Gosling?
Noah, not Ryan. No. I actually did used to fancy Ryan Gosling as Noah, and I think actually now realising it and seeing Ryan Gosling in other parts, I think he plays Noah really well, and I fancy Noah as a character.
Right.
Because I don't think he's got that annoying voice in this film. Like, every other film, he seems to have this really, really insipid, patronising voice, but he doesn't have it in this one.
Do you find that in La La Land then?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Do you agree?
A bit more deeper than that he was in this, but I guess that's age, isn't it? So
I don't know, he seemed more insipid in the others, whereas this one, in the Notebook, he seems...
Right, but if you were in that situation and he asked you on a date in that scenario where he's hanging off the Ferris wheel, would you be like, oh, yes, I'll go out with you, or would you be like, what would you...
I'd be like Ali. I'd probably don't want him to hurt himself, so I'll just say, yeah, I'll go out with you, just so that he'll get down, and then I won't have any intention of going out with him, probably.
A bit like she does, anyway.
Yeah, until he persists on.
Yeah.
He's kind of like trying to break the camel's back in a little bit of a sense, but girls like that a little bit,
Thrill of the chase.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, and I think men love it. Like, if a woman throws themselves at a man, they're not going to be interested, are they? The men love a bit of a chase, so I think Ali knows that as well.
So eventually, they kind of go to on a first date at the cinemas.
Yeah,
and that's kind of she like having this long conversation shot, tracking shot of them walking down the street, which is, I always kind of like it when they've got long takes in films. It's like not the easy way of going cut here and there to piece it all together. So it's obviously, don't know how many takes I would have taken. It's not like the most groundbreaking, spectacular dialogue, but it's kind of like just normal conversation type of thing, which is kind of nice.
I think it kind of shows the genuine core kind of storyline. It shows where the romance starts to blossom, and it kind of has that lovely kind of romanticized feel of I feel like it's like a cobbly kind of street they're walking down, and it's kind of them getting to know one another. And I didn't realise to even think of the length, like that kind of take. I hadn't even thought about that, but it comes to a point of where he does ask her, like, what do you do for fun? Like, because she's really not for, I do dance classes, then
French class,
and all of this.
And all that stuff.
And he's kind of saying, you've got a busy work schedule, but I just thought you'd be more freer than that.
Yeah.
Because probably when he saw her at the Ferris ground, she was having fun. It was really bright and colourful, and it's summer.
Yeah.
But actually, when it comes down to the nitty gritty, she's got this plan of where she needs to be within 5 years' time to then be able to go to college and graduate and all of that. And you can kind of then see how good Noah is for Ali in that situation, because going to the line that
we said at the beginning, which is him lying down in the road waiting for the traffic lights to change, and it's very strange. I don't think I'd be doing that even on a quiet road.
Really? Now, I know from that scene, I've always wanted to do that. And we've only just moved recently from our new old house to our new home. And there is a busy road.
It's a long stretch of a road.
But you'd hear a car coming because it's so quiet. I feel like we could probably get away with it and lay on that street.
I don't really know what the purpose of it really would be, to be honest.
I don't know, it's just like a freeing kind of, I think that's what he's meaning. You can do whatever you want if you put your mind to it. It's the risk, isn't it? That's what it is.
Yeah, living on the edge kind of thing. And I guess that's what kind of like, something that triggers in her to kind of like, oh, this guy's not all that bad really, kind of thing. And they have like a little dance then after that.
Oh, it's so sweet. Yeah. Dancing without any music or anything. So breaking the rules of norm, like, oh, I can't do this because there's no music, or who says you can't lay in the middle of the street? Obviously, parents might say that to you initially, but don't
lie down on the freeway, motorway, whatever. That's not a good idea.
But
causes traffic.
All these rules and obligations that you have to go by, and Noah just breaks all of them and lives life to how he wants. He's not having to do what Ali is and just be somebody for everybody else.
Yeah.
And I think that's something I still do today, is appease everybody else and not actually do sometimes what you want to do. And that's when I wrote that down. What do you do for fun? What do you do? Like if anybody actually sat there and just thought to themselves, what do you do for fun? Instead of having to do everything that you do in your day-to-day life.
Yeah.
What would yours be?
Watch movies.
Watch movies, yeah.
Honestly, that would be mine, but I don't know what yours would be.
I do obviously like watching movies, don't get me wrong.
But I know that's not you all over, really. I feel like there's something else that you...
probably going to be happiest, and I know it sounds strange because I haven't done it in ages. It is with my camera. That would be my thing, of when I'm taken away from everything and I'm not really interested in anybody else. I'm just interested in what I'm seeing, I guess.
Sure. through your lens, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Then shortly after, a little montage of them being in their relationship and everything, and
summer romance and all of that. Like, it just makes me want warmer weather. That does. Yeah. Like when they're jumping into the water, having ice cream, and you can see like they're starting to really grow to like one another. Bear in mind, this relationship, Ali is only 17 years old at this point. She doesn't look it.
No, she does not look 17. Like most of these films, they cast these characters and they don't look the age they're supposed to be, but there you go.
No.
And, I think in a couple of this, and throughout the film, she has this funny laugh. I don't know if that's how she laughs normally, but it's kind of like I don't know how to describe it. It's just very comical.
A bit goofy, I would say. Like,
yeah, not much. And there was this one line that kind of scarily reminded me of something you'd say, which is when she's like, "I'm a bird." Like, say I'm a bird. I can imagine you saying something like that to me.
Well, funnily enough, like when we were on about the quote at the beginning, my quote would be, "If you're a bird, I'm a bird."
Yeah.
Like that. I actually wrote that down. I know when I did it when I was my 16-year-old self for the project.
Yeah.
That was like my quote from all, believe it or not, from all the film that I took away. If you're a bird, I'm a bird. And that's for obviously Noah saying that to Ali.
Yeah.
And I think, I know what you mean. And I am a little bit like Ali in that sense. I do goof around quite a bit and I can be quite high opinionated as well and a bit playful, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But I always wanted somebody to say that because really that line is so lovely without you realising like the patting around going, I'm a bird. Yeah. But mainly Noah's saying to Ali, wherever you are and whatever you are, I'm going to be by your side. Basically, that's how I interpreted that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where you can see Noah really loves Ali. Like, I feel like Noah's relationship towards Ali is so much stronger than Ali's is. I know Ali does love him, but Noah would literally do anything for her.
As we find out as we go through the film, she does sometimes come across a bit, I don't know, like, bipolar is the right word, but in terms of like, she's like, 1 minute she's like slapping him, like having an argument, and it's like, oh no, I hate you, and then it's like, no, please don't go. Like, I think there's an instance.
I don't think that's like, bipolar. I just think that's every woman's emotion.
It's just up and down, yeah, like like a snap of the fingers kind of thing.
Yeah, because like I know, like for a fact, like I could be in a rage with you and want you to leave and not be, and then when you actually blow my bluff and leave, I'd be like, what? No, I'm just saying that. I don't mean it, and it is. I think it's just a woman's prerogative to be like that. Okay. Men don't get it because, like, I'll come to it in a minute earlier on, but Ali does ask Noah what's he's thinking, and it made me chuckle because I always ask you.
Yeah,
this.
You do. That was another thing that's very scarily this similarity, and it's like, I don't know, just not thinking anything specifically, just all sorts going on in my head. But
I don't understand that. Like, literally, Paul can say he's sitting there and he's not thinking anything, and I'm like, you what? How do you do that? Like, please teach me, because my brain never switches off unless I'm asleep, and then I'm pretty sure it's still going. I constantly am thinking about something. I cannot not just sit there and not think about something. So I think it must be, that's why she's more you thinking it bipolar. It's more like, because literally she's just overthinking everything.
Yeah, maybe I think that's the wrong word, really. I think it's just more the very short, snappy change of mood, really. So, yeah. Anyway.
So you've got a country boy and you've got a city girl. Yeah. So you've got a clash with class.
Clash. Yeah. You kind of get to meet her parents, and it's kind of like the very typical upper class southern ponciness, and even the dad, I said to you, looks like some like almost like a cartoon character with his big mustache. And
you already said, didn't you, when you clocked him, like he's going to be a baddie?
Although, to be fair, he doesn't seem as prominent as the mother is really in this, but that's kind of established why a bit later on in the film. But Yeah, so there's the whole thing about, oh, he's not good enough for you, honey, kind of thing, and it's I mean, that's another trope that's fairly common in these type of films. You have it in like Titanic and other things like that. It's like, the boy. It's always the boy normally who's the one who's the poor beggar boy, and it's always the girl who's the really rich, hoity-toity lifestyle. And
Cinderella, that's the opposite way. Where Cinderella's
but that's a cartoon thing. I'm thinking more your typical rom-com storylines.
Yeah, the boy's never good enough for the girl.
Yeah.
I do feel like when Ali goes over to Noah's, you see that different relationship that they have with Noah's dad.
Yeah.
Like, he will do anything for Ali and Noah, and he's so happy for Noah to be able to be with Ali, and he just kind of helps the relationship blossom.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, every parent should be like that. No one should be like, you're not good enough for anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they're in love, then that's all that matters. And I think that's the frustrating thing with Ali's parents. They just think, oh, he works. And they kind of made a bit of fun of him, don't they, about how much he earns. And I don't care who you are. As long as you've got a good soul and a good heart and you genuinely are there for the right reasons for somebody, it doesn't matter if you have a rubbish job, if you're living in a really, really, really rubbish area. If you're there for that person, then why does it matter? Because if they're going to be happy for the rest of their lives together.
Yeah.
Because it kind of shows that, doesn't it? You can have everything and be with somebody who's really rich and famous, but if you don't love them, you're going to still be miserable.
That's true. It's no good being with someone if you don't really, truly love them enough to be with them. And it's kind of important to have that.
Just for your general happiness, it is. And always that what if, so kind of moment of, what if I didn't meet that person, or what if I didn't pursue that? Like, I always think that that's one of the worst things to have.
And then we kind of shortly move on from things fairly swiftly of a bit of a... This is a thing, I guess with this, is a bit of a pacing issue with how things go. Some things go like by really quick, and some bits drag.
Really? Do you think?
I don't know. It seem like that at times. Like the whole thing going to World War II, been listed in the army. Noah is with his friend there, and there's this really quick got shot or bombed in the war, and it's like there's no emotional attachment there. I feel like it's like no, and it's like dead. Right, next, moving on. Comes back from the war. And his dad's like, I'm selling the house. We're going to fix up that plantation house that you always wanted.
Yep. So obviously there's a scene with Ali where they went to that house.
Before. Yeah.
And Ali it was like a rundown house, which it kind of reminded me of A Wonderful Life.
For George Bailey, yeah.
Weirdly enough.
The opposite way around, yeah.
Yeah, because I'd kind of seen The Notebook before It's a Wonderful Life. Yeah. So when I saw it again, I was like, oh my goodness, they must have got this inspired from It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah, perhaps. I don't know, because obviously it's based on a book. I don't know if that's in the book, but yeah.
So it's like going into this derelict building, same kind of principle, kind of same era as well. No, maybe George Bailey's a little bit older, kind of gen.
Yeah. So, yeah. The principle is there, just sort of reversed in a sense.
Yeah, but then Ali's saying, oh, I want...
White house, blue shutters and everything.
A patio around and everything like that. And obviously on that night, they kind of are going to probably do the deed, so to speak.
Yeah.
But obviously that kind of goes to pot, doesn't it? Because Ali kind of, yet again, overthinks everything, and it kind of really portrays your first time. Well, for me it does anyways. That's like kind of, you kind of want to, but you don't, and you're scared and you're nervous, and it's... that girl kind of really, really overthinking everything, and the poor guy's like, can't we? And he's like, then kind of trying to console her at the same time and not push her into anything she doesn't want to do.
They get interrupted, and then that's when they have this
massive
argument or whatever, and then that's why they go their separate ways, because the whole thing with the class is not good enough for you.
That scene really makes me upset, because you can see Noah really feeling really worthless, and it's like nobody should ever make you feel that way.
Yeah.
So then obviously jump into then the fact that his dad sells his house and gives Noah the money for the house to buy this house and do it up, basically.
Yeah. But then he shortly dies after that, so then he's kind of like he's the only one who's putting any effort into making the house, which I imagine is a lengthy task. But
I think it was something Noah needed to do, though, for him, and to kind of help him grieve over, obviously, briefly, his best friend and his father's passing. He's not got Ali, and you can see that Noah's kind of deteriorating a little bit and becoming very, very lonely quite quickly.
He's getting the beard on.
Yeah. He looks really numb, I think.
Yeah.
Like, if somebody was going to say, like, he looks like life's been kind of sucked out of him a little bit. He's got to that really, really darkish point.
And also he's been trying to write to Ali for 365 days, and the mother's like, just keep hold of it, because later on that comes back into play. But
at least she don't open them. That'd have been worse. Like if she started reading them and stuff, or binning them would have been worse, I guess. But I don't think anyone should really meddle in stuff like that. You should let everything run its course. Because obviously her mum really screws Ali over in the end.
She does, yeah.
Because Ali would have literally just been with Noah.
Yeah, but in this time, while he's at war and everything, she's kind of put in the sights of this more eligible bachelor, I guess. It's called Lon, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she's obviously, I think she meets him on the hospital ward when she's treating him, and it's kind of like, oh, do you want to go on I don't see any ring on your finger, do you want to go on a date type of thing? And then shortly after, once he's all in his uniform after that, smartly dressed and everything, and then it's kind of like, this is how the parents see her to be with this person, because he's got the money, he's got the higher status.
And he looks like a sleazeball to me. When I look at him, I'm like, if my daughter ever came home with somebody like that, I'd be like, I'd find it hard. Now I'd be the opposite. Give me Noah any day. Don't give me a sleazeball, because I can't cope with fake people. So it'd be like I couldn't gel with him. Give me a genuine person and I'll be all right. So that relationship kind of moves quite quickly, doesn't it?
Yeah, especially as he kind of says, you have to marry me, and it's kind of like, and then it kind of happens.
Oh, that proposal, it's just so unromantic, isn't it?
And also that bit
cocky.
The bit where he's like, oh, let's go. He goes on the stage to stop the band, and it's like, oh, everybody, I'm marrying this woman, and it's like, and then they just walks back off. It's like, what's that? That's not nothing. That's not really heartfelt or anything emotionally prominent. It's
I feel like back in those days, the relationships were more of a profit kind of thing.
Yeah, it's marrying into the family, or
not for love.
This works for our stead of family,
and we'll be well off, and it's like that's not the main reason that you should fall in love with somebody. So obviously then Noah's got a little bit of an interest with Martha, but she's a war widow.
Yeah, again, we're not really, that's kind of just thrown in a little bit. It's kind of like, oh, who's this person? It's kind of just a fling, kind of establishing her as sort of like a main character, but isn't really. She's kind of just part of the scenery.
She pops up, bless her, and she really wants to do good by Noah, I think, and Noah just can't get over Ali. He just can't, and he doesn't even look at Martha at all. He can't even give her eye contact, and it's just quite a sad scene of seeing him with her, really. So he kind of then ends up doing the house up. He's got it all. And I always think, it's never really said, but I always think that he puts the house for sale, not because he actually wants to sell it, but hoping that Ali might see it.
And then it does eventually get featured in the paper, and she has this reaction of faints. It's kind of funny. But...
Well, she's in a wedding dress trying fitting on.
Yeah.
I really like that scene of when she's in the bathtub and you can just see her turning the tap on with her toes, and she's just like, oh crap, what am I doing? Really torn, in a wedding dress in the bath. And wedding dresses aren't cheap. I don't think he meant to just go in the bathtub with them. I'm sure she had bubbles as well, didn't she, in it? No, maybe not. Maybe it was just the bath.
I think, I don't think she was in the wedding dress in the bath. I think it was just in the...
It was a veil or something. She had a veil on.
or
something. She left some of a wedding dress still on, looking quite pondery. Crap, what am I meant to do? I'm engaged, but I really, really want to pursue this with Noah.
Which she does. She drives out to the house to see him, and she stops around for a little while.
Yeah, there's that cute kind of would that really happen in real life scene where she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry to bother you," and then gets in a car and then drives into his fence, and then can't start a car again.
Yeah, it's like, really, that small little bump into a fence wouldn't make your car not work. But anyway, so.
But she does have a bit of a chat with her husband-to-be, doesn't she, where she says she doesn't paint anymore, she's not herself, and she's not...
And he says, "Oh, I didn't know you painted," kind of thing, because, she's been preoccupied with a load of other stuff, and it's like, it's a bit... I know life can get in the way sometimes, and you don't always have time to do exactly what you want to do, but it's you should try and hold on to things that you are passionate about.
Yeah, no, definitely. And the fact that he didn't even know she was passionate about that
shows how much relationship how much they really know about one another. They
don't. They moved far too fast.
So, in this point, obviously, when they're there together in this big house that feels kind of empty, really.
Yeah, he's got hardly any furniture. Bless him. He's just put it all into the appearance for Ali.
Almost like a model home, basically, in a sense.
It's beautiful.
And they go out, I think it's around about this point anyway, I think, I can recall, they're on this boat in the lake.
Yeah.
And reminiscent of the first opening shot, and there's all these birds, geese and swans around. And there's kind of like this, but harking back to the one they're saying, "You're a bird, I'm a bird," and there's a bird metaphor all going on there. With obviously they'll find their way back to one another because you fly back into their lives and stuff. And it's like there's a lot of geese.
I so loved that image, and when I was doing my project, that was something I really, really wanted to portray.
Yeah, if you went to lakes, you definitely would have liked to Lake Windermere. You would have definitely seen a load of...
I did, but there weren't half as many as that shot, round just that one boat. And it was like, I did think last time when we watched it this time, I was like, I wonder if they bought all of them and put more into the water. But unless it just migrated over there for the summer or something, and then they're going to migrate back, because they did say something on the lines of that, didn't they? But
they'll find their way kind of thing, because why there's so many there. And then leading up to what is basically the poster shot. Yeah. Because it's last thunderstorming, and she's got the blue dress on, and he's got the white shirt, and it's holding in her arms kind of thing. And
but it's what she says initially, "Why didn't you write to me?"
Yeah.
She waited 7 years. And her mother let her be miserable, crying herself to sleep when these letters were coming through. How cruel of a parent can you get? I could never do that to somebody. If they're so miserable. And obviously then he says, "I did write to you. I wrote to you for a year, a day, a letter kind of thing." And then obviously they get to that kiss kind of shot, and then they do the deed in the house, which is weird to think that they never actually, because it was such a kind of heated kind of romance in the summer.
Back even then, but it was more first base, second base, whatever kind of thing, not really the full fling.
And I actually, when I initially watched this, obviously I was only young, it was a little bit awkward for me watching that.
Even with a bunch of girls.
Yeah, because we were all quite good girls, so none of us had done that deed. So kind of watching that was a little bit like, that looks a bit hot and heavy. And
opening yourselves up to the experience, ooh.
But a little bit feelings. A bit more awkward and shy at the same time.
Right. Okay.
Because it's I think we would have been the initial Ali, 17-year-old selves, where we were should we be watching this kind of?
Yeah. Okay.
But actually looking back at it more on an adult head, I didn't think of it as bad as I remember it when I was 16.
Yeah, I guess.
If that makes sense.
Maybe not as explicit as you might think. Yeah.
Yeah, because I was like, oh, there's a sex scene coming up, saying to Paul, and I remember being cringy. about it, but no, it wasn't, because it was all top half, and it really wasn't it. Just a little bit of groaning.
Yeah.
I don't know what if you thought, because obviously it's only a rating of a 12.
I suppose it is sort of not too explicit. Obviously, it's making it a bit more hot and heavy than something like a PG rated film or something. So I guess there's going to be a bit more like steaminess, but not like super hardcore. So
no,
but I guess it's meant to show the throes of passion. Between the two of them, it's kind of all this built-up tension over
over the years. Yeah.
So then she's kind of at this point where she's in like a bit of a dilemma still with like whether she's going to.
I think she knows deep down what she wants to do.
She's kind of like, the right thing to do is go back to my fiance, who's like calling me at the hotel, and that was a bit of an awkward conversation that she had there. Really, it's kind of like, oh, what are you doing? What's been going on? She's like, oh, nothing. And it's like, okay, I love you, kind of thing. That was
you could tell she didn't actually love him, and she just wanted to see how this would pan out with Noah, really. And then obviously her mum turns up, and you actually understand the reason behind her mum a little bit more of why she did what she did, even though it's not justified. It really ain't. But she's kind of gone down the same path as her mum, hasn't she, a little bit?
Yeah, she had like almost like a similar summer fling, but she went off and met Ali's dad at the moment is kind of like the safe option, being in the richer.
But she still drives up and sees a kind of summer fling sometimes working at where Noah worked, not really bettered himself or anything like that. And she went, I don't even know who this man is anymore, but she still has that connection
to him, and that's a big what if, like I'd gone with him, what things would be different type of thing. But
there's also linking back to when Ali gets really upset when obviously a 17-year-old cell saying, you don't look at Daddy like I look like at Noah. You don't laugh, you don't play, you don't love, and that must have really hit home to her mum at that point. And I think that's why her mum became a little bit horrible towards Ali, because actually Ali was right.
Totally.
Pretty much. And so her mum's kind of like somewhat being apologetic in a sense. She don't really say sorry, does she?
No, she's kind of like, I do love your dad, but if you really want to put her heart and soul into it, she probably would love this other person more that was, working at this lumberyard or wherever it is, on the sidelines.
I definitely think that's what it was, and I think she obviously went for the safe option, kind of telling Ali to follow her heart.
In a weird way, yeah.
Kind of don't do the mistakes I did. Even though, to be fair, if her mum had told her that from the beginning, Ali won't be in this mess, because she would have still been with Noah. This other guy wouldn't have even come into the picture.
Yeah. Although, really, if you had said that, then they wouldn't have a story.
I knew you were going to say that.
But, yeah. Again, this is all the same with films. If that had happened, if that had happened the way it was supposed to happen, then there wouldn't be any story. But we obviously haven't actually talked about this actually being a story that's being retold by an older man in this like care home speaking to
Ali.
So obviously spoilers of the fact that.
Well, I think it's kind of given that the older lady is Ali, because obviously she's the main lead anyways.
Yeah. So it's the old Ali who is at the care home, and she's like, this man's reading me a story, and it's kind of like, obviously, did you, when you first saw it, did you pick up on the fact that it was her?
I knew she was Ali
involved in this,
but who the man was, I wasn't 100% sure on as of yet. If that makes sense. So initially, when I first watched it, no, I didn't know at the first scene
it's pretty obvious about the woman. This thing. I would say I was similar thing. I wasn't sure in kind of placing him as to whether that was really because I was thinking as I was going through it, thinking, have they said his name as when
because actually they don't call him Noah. I don't know, Mr. Whoever. They give him a different name, so you don't actually know it's Noah, but they do call her Miss Ali, and so you were aware that is Ali, and that this man is coming in to read, and so obviously she's got dementia or Alzheimer. I think it's Alzheimer's, isn't it?
I think it's dementia, but
dementia.
Again, ignorance perhaps, but a sort of similar one and the same kind of thing. I don't know, but yeah, it's not easy to be dealing with. It's
we know from second hand. So like both grandparents have had. So my grandma, and I think your grandma,
yeah,
have had Alzheimer's, and it is really an upsetting thing to see anyone kind of deteriorate in that way. So like my grandma got to a point of where she didn't even recognise my mum. She would say she was the milk lady, and stuff like that. And she didn't even remember me because I was only quite little at this point. But she would remember certain family members who kind of, I guess,
from the past, I presume.
Yeah. And she used to kind of call for her dad at some point.
Yeah.
So she kind of reverting back a little bit to...
I think that's the way it is. They more remember the old days rather than what's happened, like, say, yesterday or a couple of weeks ago kind of thing. It's, which makes things a bit more tricky to...
It is quite heartbreaking in any sense.
But in regards to the older man, it was like, I think shortly after a while I was thinking, well, yeah, okay, this is probably Noah, but I wasn't entirely sure whether it was the fact of whether he's just sticking around just to try and sort of like win her over in the fact, because I thought there was a story going to the fact that she did go off with Lon, and it's kind of like he never really got that thing, so he's trying to make up for the fact now, but then that quickly went away. Obviously, when you've seen like the family come into play, and it's like, oh, hello.
Yeah. Oh, that was such a sad scene because obviously it is all her children.
Yeah.
And they're coming to see their dad.
Yeah.
And then they're saying, "Oh, meet your mum," basically, having to be like, "Hi, hi," and act like you're a complete stranger. Yeah. But obviously, you have to do certain things like that with Alzheimer or dementia, because if you tried to say, "I'm your daughter," that would get them into a bit of a hysteria.
Yeah, exactly. So this is kind of my favourite part of when it's kind of like whenever these scenes come into play, we like the man like reading the story. It's kind of very heartfelt and sweet, and I do prefer those aspects of the film more so than thing. And we'll obviously go to the end part now, which is very saddening. And you would like to me say, if you don't cry, you don't have like a soul. And lo and behold, I was very much crying at this, and it's like
I think this is why I haven't watched this film. So like Paul's like, if you're saying this is your favourite film, how many times have you watched it? And I'm like, I think this might be like my third time. And you were looking at me like, I don't really quite grasp that. And I went, well, I need to be able to be emotionally in that place that I'm okay to break down and cry. Because so if you do a cry, then this is definitely the film to watch. Otherwise, like I said to Paul, I'd have to watch it to a point of where then I stop watching it. So obviously, spoiler alerts, if you haven't seen it, go and watch it. But we get to a point of where you do see Ali going back to Noah, and the kind of she shrugs her shoulders, she's got her suitcases, and she puts them on the floor and she runs to him. That to me then it's like, right, okay, if I didn't want to cry, I'd have to pause it there.
Yeah. And they go that, and they lived happily ever after kind of thing. And then there's none of this further in the story of like after the fact of when he's, making the meal for her, and he's having a little dance and stuff.
I think it's because they're so old, and it reminds me a little bit of Up in this sense. And I know you're...
Yeah, we'll get to that in a bit of like how I relate this to this film in my final thoughts.
Okay.
So, but it's kind of nice, but then it kind of there's that glimmer of hope in his eyes, like, yes, I've broken through kind of thing, and then shortly, in like 5 minutes later or whatever, it's kind of like, oh, who are you kind of thing, and it's like, oh, it's really it's really hard to see that, and then he like kind of like gets really upset about it because like, oh, I'm so close to like breaking through, and it's just like
I was just breaking down in tears at this point. Like it really, really
sort of semi-distressing as well, kind of when she's getting all het up, and sort of like the closing part as well is quite a sad and touching part as well. Like the thing, and then he goes into her ward or whatever, and then kind of like lays down with her holding her hand, and then they kind of like pass away together. It's really sweet.
It is. Yeah. It is. Like Paul, I don't think Paul actually realised how sad. Like I don't know if you thought I was having you on a little bit.
I wasn't entirely sure as to how much like emotionally impactful it was gonna be, but yeah, there was how if it was going to really drag it out, or kind of thing, or it's just going to be a really quick thing or something. You know, like
it's
just
about 20 minutes, isn't it, of tears? I feel like
so
at the end,
last, maybe 10, yeah,
because
it's kind of just focusing on them then at that point.
Yeah, it probably makes me whelm with like the meal, and he does, like you say, he thinks he's going to break through, and they have this moment, and she's like saying, "Tell the children I love them," and he's got his alley back, and then she's like, "I don't know who you are," and that must so hurt.
Yeah,
like when you just think you're so close and you've cracked it, and it has about 10 minutes, but he'd do it all over again.
Yeah,
and he by the sounds of it, he does it every day. He reads to her.
Yeah.
Just to, and some days he won't even get a breakthrough, and some days he will. And then for them to die together, like both saying, "Yep, I'm ready to go now. Let's do it together." It's just shows how much they really loved one another. And even me talking about it now, I'm getting goosebumps and wanting to whelm up and cry. Like, I think that's the loveliest way to die.
Just passing away in somebody's hands. I don't know. It's probably the best everybody could hope for, really.
Yeah, especially to say that you're going in it together. You're not, because I think people think dying is really lonely and scary, and that's why they think of that. Whereas, like, if you've wherever people think once you die, where you go to, like, I'd like to be able to go with it with somebody that I loved and really cared about, and not on my own, I guess.
Yeah.
But I know people, obviously, your other relatives would be there probably anyways. Depends on what you kind of think of death as. I always think I don't really know if there's a God or anything like that, but I don't think there's a heaven or a hell. But I do think there is an afterlife. I kind of think of it like Coco in my head.
Yeah, I guess. Which, incidentally, I felt, not to say that this did make me feel very sad and whelm up and everything, but I felt like I more broke down, like sobbing almost, when watching Coco. I don't know why. That was, I don't know, that really, I think that played more heavily on visuals, and I think it's always music as well. That's why I like, as sad as it is, I do like Up so much, and why there's that emotional attachment to that film, really, because that's
like I was surprised at how much you cried to that point on that one.
Which one? Sorry.
In Up, because I was sat there and I think you triggered me off. I was like, okay, this is sad, but not meaning it in a bad way. It kind of isn't as long. Like,
oh no.
So it's like quite a short passing, and then you kind of get over it a little bit.
Yeah, which is kind of the nice thing about that, in a sense, because like, yeah, you got that little bit and it's very touching and everything, and you're quick like, yep, just get onto the thing and enjoy the rest of it for a little while until it comes back a little bit later on in that film.
Whereas this broke,
and this is at the very end, and it's kind of like I think you said, like, if you'd seen it in the cinema and you come out sobbing, then everybody in the lobby would be like, "Oh no, you know what happens there, then, don't we?"
Yeah.
If you'd got red puffy eyes at the end of it, yeah.
I literally wasn't I? Red,
yeah,
like streaming with like.
So at least in Up or whatever, you'd be like, yeah, okay, you can get away with it after the fact. Yeah, you'd be past that part.
Past it, like with Coco, I think it's more of a to do with your family.
Yes.
So like that really hit me when you forget somebody of your family. So I always try, and I know it sounds really strange to some people, but like, for example, I have a really connection to my granny, so I'll say happy birthday to her every time it's her birthday, even though she's not around. I will still, in my head, or to my mum, say, "Oh, it's Granny's birthday today. Let's wish her happy birthday." And I do think it is keeping the, when they have, I forgot what it's called, the pictures up, and they kind of, and that's the portal throughout on
in Coco,
yeah. And I think that's, for me, yes, you need these pictures, you need these memories, because if you forget somebody, you're not keeping that soul alive. And I think that's the bit that's really sad, is when you get forgotten. I don't think anybody wants to be forgotten, and they want to make an impact while we're here. But
yeah, in terms of this, it's kind of like I guess a nice-ish bookend to have it, like a closure on them as they're passing, and it's that's the end of the film.
And it kind of leaves you in this sad state.
Yeah, unfortunately, but yeah. So that is the film.
I'm really intrigued to hear what you've got to say. I'm going to actually get comfy and just let you speak to me, because it does mean a lot to me, this film. So I said, like, no pressure. I don't want you to be like swaying, because I really, really like this film. So I think this is actually the first film where you've realised that I actually have it's had a big impact on me. It's like kind of not a childhood, but like a teen film, which
one of those films. It's a kind of I can see why, and it's sort of it's kind of good to have those films that kind of do that for you, and there's just a focus on that particular area. So, okay.
And I'll get comfy, and I'm going to be really silent, she says, and try and be good and let you review and score. I feel. I think you're going to know what my score is anyways.
I'm not entirely sure as to what you will really truly go on reflection of what you saw as a teen to how you see it now. But anyway, so I'll start with the positives that I've got from watching it. The way it differs from like most particular rom-coms, I think, is the story's told through the eyes of a man that has literally documented it as a story. And like I mentioned earlier, that the older couple scenes are what seem the most poignant and like the precious moments that we have to show like how much he cares for her, even though it's kind of like, oh, you know, like almost like, who are you kind of thing. And it was this man reading the story. To me, it's like it's really sweet. I think those are really the good points.
Oh gosh, okay.
Really.
Okay. Oh dear. Now we're going for the slating.
Obviously, it did touch me on an emotional level as well. I don't know if that's a good or a bad point. I don't know.
That's good. I think I might have to question if I was going to marry you if you didn't cry.
Yeah. So there was that, but that's like the in between that is like good. But like I say, I wasn't quite as like bawling my eyes out. It's kind of like a whelming up and a little bit of like a sniffle thing. I did need a tissue.
I needed a
you needed
box.
Like the box. And you were like. So, like I mentioned before as well. Now the fact that the pacing of the film was a little bit off here and there. It did seem too long in parts of it, and not focusing too much on other parts. Really, I don't know. I
think it was quick pace in some parts, and then it did drag, but kind of more in depth. But
I don't know. Just some of the things weren't particularly interesting. I wasn't too involved.
So,
in some...
like for example, what scenes would you think needed to be more embellished, and what do you think could have been cut back? Because obviously it's 2 hours and 3 minutes long, which I love the fact that I've made him actually have to sit through 2 hours and 3 minutes, because there's been plenty of films I've had to sit through.
They're longer than that even. Yeah. Well, like I was saying about the whole thing about what they were doing in between that time, there wasn't a great deal of time spent with them, like in the summer romance type of thing, and also the part where, you know, like what he went off to war kind of thing. So it's almost like highlights reel. I don't know, like his friend, like I said, like he kind of just died, and then that was that very quickly, as if there was no emotional beat there. He doesn't even look like he was really upset or anything. I don't know, I felt like that was...
It's Ryan Gosling's fault. Not Noah's.
It's kind of like just looking down. Long part, I don't know, it's just certain scenes, more like when it was just them in their younger selves, didn't just seem to go on for a little bit too long.
I really loved those. I really loved that part where the summer romance happened. That was like my favourite kind of part initially. For me,
I felt more of a connection with the older people than I did them, really, in the long and short of it. But and like I said, like some a little bit forced drama in like when they're having the arguments and stuff, and that's a bit like she's going off on one and then it's like, oh no, wait, sorry, come back kind of thing, and it's like, what's that about?
That's every woman's prerogative to be like that.
And like when it's kind of like, oh well, you slept with me now, and it's like, right, were you going to go, and you're still going to go back to him type of thing, and it's...
Yeah, I think it's just obviously she's not knowing what... She knows deep down...
almost.
No, I don't think she does. I think she knows she wants nowhere, and she needed to reevaluate that.
Test the waters.
Yeah, to make sure that was the thing, but then it's the hard choice in making that call. It's like, no one likes breaking a relationship up, but it must be even harder to break up an engaged relationship.
Yeah.
Because you must have loved one another to say that you were going to marry one another.
Right.
Okay. You're making me feel really, really tense here. Okay. Please be higher than a 5.
Yeah, it'll be higher than a 5.
Okay. Higher than a 6?
No, I'm sorry.
What?
There is...
Give over! No. Come on!
I don't think I'd be much inclined to really see this again, to be honest. I don't think I'd be like, oh yes, I'm really incentivized to put that on. Or certainly not anytime soon anyway.
But why?
I think, I don't know, I did like it for parts of it, like I've sort of described, but I don't think there's not a great deal of attachment to it with the characters and everything. I think I get more watching emotional parts of Up and the Coco, and I feel like they offer a bit more. I know that's because they're animated, and that might sound stupid, but
no, it doesn't. And I guess you've got more of attachment with it. I think for me, obviously, I've grown up with this film.
Yeah. So before we get into your side of things, I only really give it a 6. I'm sorry, but
don't just for the podcast. Are you actually wanting to give it like a 10?
No, sorry. There's no 10s in this one. Sorry.
Actually, really. Do you know?
I think another thing as well. I think if there was more, because like I said, there were some quirks that reminded me of you in that, scarily enough. But I feel
so that's why we're giving it a 6.
No, because there wasn't that much of it. There's only a couple of bits here and there, and it wasn't really played on too much that sort of like made me remind me of you, I guess. There's only just the glimmers here and there, so I kind of see where some of, I guess, your mannerisms, in a sense, come from. But I mean, I've got the real thing in me, so, and I can enjoy that whenever I want, even for all your quirks and all that. But yeah, I think it was, even with those things, and it was just an okay overall. Wasn't really like wow, this is breathtakingly poetic or anything, but it was sweet. But honestly, I don't think I'd felt much more of it. I'm sorry.
It's okay. At least you're honest, I guess. It does hurt a little. I'm not gonna lie. Like if I said Jurassic Park's is shite, like that would be like a little bit of a dagger in your heart, a little bit.
I know.
And I think for me, obviously, I've grown up with this film. I've always wanted a Noah. That was like my kind of aspiration, I guess. I always wanted somebody to love me as much as Noah loved Ali in a film. You know, when you're kind of young and a girl, that kind of aspiring to that relationship is like a bit of a goal that I would like. For me, I'm a bit of an opposite, because obviously I really enjoyed the romance blossoming with the younger Ali and Noah. Noah. Noe.
Noe.
So Ali and Noah, the younger versions, I liked kind of the courting side of it. I think for me, obviously I knew what was coming. So when I saw the scenes with the older kind of Ali and Noah, it's somewhat more heartfelt and it's more genuine and it's raw. But because I knew what was coming, it's a bit of a bittersweet, I guess. Whereas like you can enjoy the younger part and know that they've still got quite a little bit of life towards them together, and kind of seeing it that sense. The ending is absolutely heartbreaking for me. It really is. Like, I don't know, I don't really like death anyways.
No, it is very scary.
Yeah, and it frightens me to think that maybe I will lose my marbles and get dementia or Alzheimer's, you know. But forgetting your loved ones as well. It just that thought of not being able to remember them.
Mm-hmm.
So I think for me, the ending, it's really, really sad. And I think I kind of put myself in that shoes of how would I feel, either if I was Ali or Noah. And if that did happen where, like, for example, you'd forget me, like, how would I feel about that? And I'm not sure. I don't know if I could read to you every day and you not remember me. I feel like I find that really hard, even though I'd want to be with you. I'd be breaking down every 2 minutes.
Right. Okay.
But I wouldn't leave you on your own, to be fair.
I know, nor would I if I was in the opposite way around.
Thanks. But I think from this film, it has shown, there was a lot of things when I could see where I might have picked up little mannerisms of certain things, or kind of wanted to be a little bit like Ali because she's beautiful. I think, she's a bit temperamental, but I think every woman is. And I have a right to be like that too. And obviously it's a beautifully shot. It's in a lovely era, like the styling and the clothes and the lighting. It is well thought out. You know, they have got a good kind of set, and I feel like the relationship between Ali and Noah is really, really good, old and young. The actors do portray it quite well for me. And I think it's one of those films where it's always going to stay quite strong with me. So actually looking back at it, I enjoyed it more with my new head.
So you probably would, because you might have picked up more things that you might not, valued things a bit more than you would have when you were just a teen.
Yeah, I really, really valued it a lot more than I thought I was gonna. And I knew I was gonna cry, but because I knew it was coming, I didn't think it would still hit me like it did. But I think it made it worse because I had you. Like, that's what does me in with Up.
Yeah, because I have a similar thing where I know, even though I know what's coming, it still gets me. Every time.
But I think it's worse when you've got not meaning that in a bad way. It's worse when you've got somebody to relate it to and kind of put yourself in their shoes, I guess. And I think that's why I was sobbing my eyes out, basically, because I was thinking of me and you.
Yeah, I can get that.
I still cried when I was younger, but I didn't really have that kind of relationship like I do now.
You're only young and you weren't thinking about when you were really old kind of thing and having someone as a partner I think, that you're going to be attached to. And
I think I was more aspiring to just have a partner like Noah at that point. Yeah. But whereas now it was like reflecting on an older self thinking, that could be inevitable and it's quite scary. So I love the film so much that I can't believe you've given it a 6. I was wishing for a little bit higher, even a 7 or an 8. I feel like you've given other films a bit more credit than they're worth. But I'm glad you watched it with me. I really am.
Oh, yeah.
Because it means a lot to me. And hopefully eventually you'll grow to like it. Because that's normally what happens with your stuff. I end up liking it just because you like it. So for me, it's a 10. And I know you'll probably be surprised.
I was thinking, is she going to really rate it that highly? Or maybe it would be a 9. No.
No, I've still got that connection. It still didn't ruin anything for me.
Okay.
I really, really enjoyed it. It still sobbed my eyes out. And if anything, it kind of made me realise why I loved it so much when I was younger. It kind of brought nostalgia back a little bit, and having a sleepover. Also to a point of where a little bit of a reflection of younger self to older self. So I think when I was younger, I wanted to know where I really wanted that relationship so badly. Like, you don't even know how badly I wanted that. And then kind of my older self now looking back and thinking, well, yeah, I might have a Noah. Possibly. You're not as funny, though.
Well, that's just rude.
And you're not half as sweet as Noah.
Also rude.
No, you don't make me...
Oh, not a lot going for me then, have I?
you
By that regard.
You're lovable, you are. But you don't give me flowers, like, on my pillow. And you don't give me a photography room, or like a painting room. So you've got standards to meet now.
Got you this house, though.
I got you this house.
Though, so you can't really complain.
True. But I did work for it.
It's a bit romanticised, though, I think. Like having the flowers and...
It doesn't mean you can't spoil a woman now and again,
No,
Paul.
I know.
Flowers don't cost much.
Depends what flowers you get. Roses do.
Yeah,
for some ungodly reason.
So this is for our Valentine's kind of Feb feel.
Yeah, so when this will go out, this will be just before Valentine's Day is on the Sunday, so the next one we're going to do is also, I guess, a similar romantic-ish kind of theme. I will leave that for now as to what that'll be for our listeners, but for now, we thank you very much for listening to this episode.
Yeah, I've really actually enjoyed this one so much, so thank you for watching it, Paul.
Okay. Sorry I didn't meet your expectations with the scoring, but I'm only just being honest.
I think he's just doing it for you guys, to be fair. I really do.
Saving face.
Yeah. We're gonna keep recording and he's gonna tell me his real score later. Once I beat him up a little bit. You might see the pictures where he posts it and he's just got a black eye because I've slapped him until he likes this film.
And of course, you can listen to this and all our other episodes on iTunes, Spotify, Podbean, and wherever else you might get your podcasts from.
Also, Paul has started doing a little snippet, like a minute's worth, on YouTube.
Yep, with what we would normally do on our Instagram as well, and upload to Twitter too, which is SP_filmviewers, is like a more of an animated snippet of our episodes to help promote it, give a taster of what we do. But I felt like more utilise my skills of very simplistic animation, but I think it's kind of effective and a bit more interesting than just everybody just a easy quick snippet of some waveform bars going across in a box or whatever, just to make it stand out a bit more. But I think it's quite enjoyable, and it kind of gives hopefully a bit more insight of our facial expressions than maybe when we're describing our thoughts and feelings in what we're talking about. So
we might have to do one where we just actually video ourselves, possibly.
As well,
yeah. Even though I'm always in my comfies.
Yeah.
And I look at you, like, my face is very expressive. It's quite comical how expressive my face can get. So no, you do kind of make me laugh when I look at them because you make my eyes go really big.
Yeah, so do check that out on our YouTube as well. Hopefully hoping to put bit more content out for that on the channel in the future as well, with maybe some other things as well. So that's that. And one more final thing before we go. We do have our merch store. I believe there will be, as it's getting near Valentine's Day anyway, on that weekend, there will be a promotion with up to 35% off on the store across all our merch. So if you'd like to go and check that out, we'll put a link in the description to that page where you can find said merch store.
Yeah, definitely. I might even go and have a look and buy myself an SP book.
So, thank you very much for listening, and we will speak to you next time.
Thank you for listening, and watch The Notebook if you want to cry.
If you want to cry, yeah.
Yeah, if you don't want to cry, don't watch it. I'll just stop it where I say.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Speak to you later.
Thank you. Speak to you later.
Bye.
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 Bye.